Welcome. I'm Annette Pasternak, the Stop Skin Picking Coach, and this is going to be just an audio today, so you can listen to it as you would a podcast. I recorded this as a live webinar without the video, though, 3 years ago with 5 of my former coaching clients who all worked with me in my first 2 years of doing this coaching work, and they were generous enough to donate their time here. This recording has just been hiding deep in my blog, and I'm so excited to bring it out and get your fresh ears on it because I know you're going to find it so valuable. Please give it a thumbs up when you do find it valuable. And if you have any questions for me or any of the participants, ask them in the comments and maybe we will answer them.
Okay, so I had advertised this as being 4 of my former clients who've been, successful in breaking free of their skin picking cycle or problem. And we actually have 5 today, so that's even better. For Carly, who we're going to start with. So Carly basically answered a little post I put up on skinpick.com over 2 years ago. And we worked together for 6 months. That was back when I thought 6 months was a good way to do a program, but right now it's only 4 months, and some people finish in less time also. So welcome, Carly. And everybody else, if you feel like you're going to be noisy, please just mute your phone line and then come back in a bit. So, Carly, hi.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I have a little thing written down, so I'll try to be as chronological as I can, I guess. So my name's Carly. I'm 20 years old. Wow, I have been picking my skin for as long as I can remember. I think specifically 6th grade is kind of the farthest back I can go, where I can recall picking my skin, being upset, having to cover my arms, my legs, everything. It's just crazy to think about it now that I'm 20, kind of this long journey I've been on. I remember my family kind of has this history of picking at each other's skins. My mom would say, oh, let me get that pimple for you, kind of stuff like that. And I think for me, it just with my behavior and my personality and my on-the-go lifestyle, especially when I got into middle school and high school, so my picking kind of turned into like a life-consuming habit that I had. So about junior year of high school, I really started picking my skin super, super bad. And it had been bad in middle school and kind of before that, but in high school it was really noticeable to me, especially because people would be asking me like, oh, what's that scab on your forehead? Or, what are these bumps on your arms? And I always had to lie, and I was constantly covering up my arms, wearing long sleeves in the summer, mastering makeup techniques so that I could cover my face perfectly and make it look like I had no blemishes at all. And so I started, getting on the internet, and I was Googling stuff, and I think the very first skin pick website I found was stoppickingonme.com, and I kind of was chatting with this woman who could offer me some help, some advice, but she wanted parental consent. And at this point with my mom, I was living with my mom and my stepdad, and the relationship I had with my mom in regards to picking is that she really didn't understand it. So if I was picking a lot, she would kind of get mad at me. She'd be frustrated. Why are you picking? Can't you just stop? The classic words, just stop. Why can't you stop? And that was really frustrating for me. And so I had asked my mom, hey, can I chat with this woman? She got really frustrated, and I remember that kind of didn't turn out so well. And in the meantime, I'm still Googling and researching, and I think by that time I had self-diagnosed myself with dermatillomania, which I think I found on like Wikipedia or something like that. And so, you know, I'm kind of going through this, like figuring out, hey, yeah, I have this really, really challenging habit that is stopping me from a lot of things because, you know, I would want to go do things with my friends, but I wouldn't go out because my skin was so red and I had just scars everywhere on my arms, you know, my legs, anywhere you can think of, really. And so finally, one time my mom took me to the doctor and I was getting a referral for a therapist, but the doctor, you know, once again used the famous words, just stop, you're so beautiful, just stop your picking, you can do it. And that wasn't reassuring at all. It was more frustrating and irritating. And then I went to a therapist one time, and that didn't turn out either. So finally, after some more researching, I found the Skin Pick forum, which I think it's like skinpick.com, and I started posting a personal challenge of kind of documenting my picking online, which was my way of just, you know, kind of getting it out there, I guess, reaching out for help. And then I found Annette's post, and she had a free consultation, and so I was like, you know what, I just got to do this. So I did the consultation, and really the rest is history, and I finally talked to my mom, and we got it figured out, and I went through coaching, and so that was kind of a little bit of the history, and I'll talk a little bit about the process of coaching. It was really, really wonderful. Like Annette said, I did kind of a 6-month program. It was a lot of good techniques and tricks and, you know, really just mind-changing, life-changing things that helped me become more aware of my picking and take charge of it instead of it take charge of me. The first session, we did like a 2-week log, and my log was 9 hours of picking in 2 weeks. And now, to this day, my log is maybe 20 to 40 minutes in every 2 weeks. So that is just, the log has been something that's really proven helpful, and it's just been great. So yeah, the coaching process was really helpful. Something that was always hard for me and is still hard is kind of the diet and exercise portion, because I know how much the diet and the exercise and taking care of your body plays into being stimulated to pick, and when you eat more sugars, you're really, you know, you're kind of stimulated to do that, for me at least. And so that's something that I've still struggled with, but I know that when I do treat my body well and I eat foods that aren't going to amp me up, I pick less and it's better. So yeah, since coaching kind of ended, I've had a couple refresher sessions, which are really nice of Annette to do. They kind of just check in, you know, what's going on, what's, you know, little reminders here and there. But really since the coaching, which was, I think, yeah, like 2 years ago or so, it's been wonderful. It's not, you know, skin picking isn't something that takes over my life anymore. If I do pick, it's very minimal. I'm very aware of what I'm doing. It's no longer an unconscious thing that I struggle with. So yeah, it's really great. My life is so different now, and I'm currently rereading Annette's book that she just released, and that's kind of a refresher. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my story.
Thank you, Carly. That was really great. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so we're going to go on. I think we're going to go all the way to Iceland now. So I think we were in California. Was that correct, Carly?
Yep.
All right, and now we're going to go to Iceland to Fanny, just because it is already, almost 1:45 in the morning there, and just in case Fanny doesn't want us to get out, she can just talk to you guys and go to sleep. But so awesome. Take it away, Fanny.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, like I said, my name is Fanny, and I'm from Iceland. I'm 23 years old. And, a little bit about the history. I started picking, I think, when I was about like 14 or 15. I'm not really sure. At first, it wasn't really a problem. Like 2 years, it really didn't bother me, but then it started to become like a lot worse, and with time it keeps getting worse. So, like last year, a year from now, last year was like I was picking hours a day, which was pretty bad. Sometimes 3 hours, and it went up to 6 hours, which is like a lot. And maybe I have OCD. I've had obsession compulsive disorder since I was a kid, so I think maybe it's connected. Basically, a year ago I was feeling like stressed because of the picking and feeling very anxious and just experiencing a lot of like self-loathing, and I was becoming more and more like socially withdrawn and just feeling, well, basically like a complete failure because I tried to stop picking like so many times, but I always failed at it. And here in Iceland, even though we do have a lot of cool stuff, we do not have, like, nobody knows anything about skin picking here. And I had a psychiatrist, and they just didn't know how to handle it, so I didn't really want to talk about it. And it was becoming really bad. And, well, to be completely honest, right before I started Annette's program, I was, like, starting to think about, like, suicide because I just didn't really want to live the way I did. My boyfriend actually found Annette's program online, and I went to the first session, and I didn't really know what to expect, and I was just feeling kind of hopeless about my situation, so I didn't like to actually ever stop picking. But just like right from the first session, I just felt like she was so understanding and very professional. So I decided to do the program, and it is without a doubt the best thing I ever did for myself because the program it's very well built, and just it didn't only like my picking. I started to reduce my picking just right at the beginning, and then I noticed like other aspects of my life just becoming so much better. She taught me a lot of techniques and gave me a lot of tools to work with, and they actually worked, which I thought was awesome because I've read a lot of like self-help books and had a lot of psychiatrists, and just nothing had ever worked, but this actually did work, and it's just a lot of support in the program as well. And after 4 months, I did the program for 4 months. My picking was reduced to almost nothing at all. I was still picking maybe a little bit, but it's just like very little. A few months after the program ended, I'm not picking at all, which is awesome. And my skin just looks so much better. And this is like a really big thing because just a year ago I was picking for hours every day, and I wasn't really leaving my house. And I wanted to start the university last year, but I couldn't do it because I just didn't have the self-confidence or strength to actually go. But now I'm starting next month. And I know I would never be doing that unless I had done the program. But also what I think is amazing and what really happened to me during the program was that I started to feel overall a lot more happier and just like more calmer, which is awesome for me because I'm also very hyperactive and tend to get like really stressed out and nervous. But she taught me all these like techniques on like just calming myself down and like getting more balanced. I did have a setback about like I think maybe a month and a half ago. There's just a lot of stress in my life and some things happening, and I picked for like I don't know, maybe 1 hour, and then just kind of got up and got Annette's book and got the materials she sent me during the program, and I didn't feel ashamed of it. I didn't feel angry at myself. I just kept going, and I didn't pick again after that. It's a little setback, and I think that's like a greatest part is that the tools that I got during the program, I'm going to be able to use them. I'm still using them, and I'll be able to use them in the future. So I didn't actually just and that didn't just help me to stop. Then, I can keep using it, and I think that's really amazing. I've actually, my brother suffers from mental illness, and I've actually been teaching him some of the things that Annette taught me, and he's actually using it. And he doesn't have skin picking or anything like that, but he's just using it to feel, calmer, happier, and just more balanced. So I think that's pretty amazing. So yeah, I think that's all I want to say.
Okay.
Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Fanny. Wow, I didn't know that your brother's been using the tools as well. That's great.
Yeah.
Yay. And, so Fanny, I mean, people are really different with this. Fanny, I think you weren't picking at all for months. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then you had your setback, and then a month and a half ago, and then is everything good now? Are you?
Yeah, everything's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not taking it all, so that's great. I'm going to the gym like 4 times a week and going swimming and everything. It's awesome.
Good for you. Carly, that's what you gotta do.
I know.
Okay, thank you so much, Fanny. Feel free to stay, obviously, in case anyone has questions later or to listen. But if you need to go say goodnight, I totally understand. All right, let's see. So Fanny was my client, starting last fall to this winter. Jodi overlapped almost the same time. Let's go back, though, to Katie. So Katie, I haven't spoken to Katie. This is the first time today in maybe a year and a few months.
Yeah,
right,
it was
Katie?
almost a year ago when our program ended, I think. So
Okay. All right. So why don't you tell our audience next about your picking and getting business from your picking?
okay, so I'm Katie. I'm 21 and I'm from Missouri. So I remember when I was in elementary school, I always was biting my nails or picking at my fingers a little bit, but it didn't become consistent really until I was in high school when I didn't really start getting acne on my face pretty badly until high school. So that was what I really focused. I picked a lot on my face and on my chest and at my fingers. So yeah, it just started as me picking at my acne a little bit, like in the mirror every time I would go to the bathroom, and it just eventually started to feel kind of satisfying, or it just became something I did whenever I was like stressed, because it was a way to relieve some pressure and just to feel a little better. But when I went away to college, I realized that it was something I couldn't really stop doing, and it was really frustrating. I would be late to social things because I was trying to stop picking, or I was trying to put makeup on to cover up the spots on my face. So it was really consuming my time, and I remember the summer after my first year away, my mom saying, like, well, can't you just stop? Like, why do you keep doing that? And I just didn't really understand that. I really maybe needed some more help, and I was just saying, like, oh, I'll stop, Mom, it's okay, I'll stop. And it just made me feel really insecure about myself, and I became an RA my sophomore year, and I had my room all to myself, and just it became so hard to control it. So I felt really insecure about myself and really helpless, and eventually my parents confronted me again and said that it was time to get some help, and I agreed. At that point, I just thought, wow, like, I just don't know what to do. I've never met anyone else who struggles with the same thing, picking at their face, and so I started seeing a family friend who was a counselor, and that was a good first step, just to talk about things, but she hadn't really heard of this condition either, and so I started going online and just searching, and I felt so amazed and relieved when I found people's blogs about it, and I eventually found Annette on Twitter, and was just so relieved and excited when I found her blog. And so I started the program with her, and the three things that were really influential to me, I thought, were the log, because I could just figure out what times of day I was most vulnerable, or when I was really most susceptible to picking out my skin. And then the diet, when I cut out any extra sugar, that was really amazing to see how much the time I was picking out my skin decreased. I think that week that I met with her, in my log, it had gone down by half, which was just really amazing to me. And then also the breathing techniques to just control myself and just kind of calm down and remove myself from the situation. So yeah, that's a little bit about the program. And I bought Annette's book recently just as a reminder, and started reading through my old notes and in order to prepare for today. And just it reminded me about how thankful I was to just find the program and go through it, because it really was so life-changing for me. I do sometimes struggle with it day to day, but it's totally not in control, or I'm totally in control of it, and more aware of myself and the times of day that I'm most likely to pick my skin, or covering my mirrors, or just little things that I can do. And I just really have a greater confidence in myself. And I also, while I was going through Annette's program, I started being I was gaining more confidence. So I started sharing with my friends what I was going through and just being more open about it. And that was made me feel so much better, because I was really afraid that my friends or people would react in a way that wasn't really positive. But people were so encouraging, and just realizing that people are really comforting and not really turned away by that at all. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself.
Thank you, Katie. Yeah, that was wonderful. And I'm really glad that you mentioned that, you started telling your friends, and that people are accepting. I think it's such a burden off people when they do share. Can be. All right. So let's go now. And Katie, thanks for sharing, your specifics too. I like the three things that you found that worked best for you. Okay, how about we hear from Jodi next? Who I think is in Jersey. Hi.
Hi. So I'm Jodi. I'm about to be 27, and I started picking right before my freshman year of college. And I didn't really know, I didn't know anything about it, but, it kind of started in my legs, and soon it was hours a day in front of the mirror. All the things that everyone else mentioned, wearing long sleeves in the summer, and I once called out of work because of my picking, not going away for the weekend, or not wanting to do certain things, not being able to go to a pool. And I didn't really tell anyone about it. I had a roommate in college. She obviously knew about it because she would sometimes patch me. And I started going to different therapists, and none of them knew anything about it, and that was really frustrating. And then I think I started doing my own research, and I found a community on Tumblr that talks all about it, and I was just kind of amazed that this happens to other people. And then I decided to do coaching. I had heard from so many different therapists that it would never go away. It would never be something that I could ever be in control of. They just had no idea. And I started to do coaching when I had taken all of these steps to change my life. I had changed my diet. I had started exercising. I had lost a lot of weight. I had done therapy for other things that I was dealing with. I had journaled a lot. And none of it had any effect on my picking. So it's kind of at the end of my rope, and I don't even remember how I found Annette, but I did the free consultation, and I just kind of really clicked with her vibe. And then I think it wasn't until, I think it just scared me though, and then I think a few weeks later, or maybe it was even a month or two, I decided to do coaching. And I actually found a lot of things that I never really took to the log. I don't know, I just maybe never stuck with it, but I actually found things to be most helpful was we went over different kind of amino acids that I could take and like supplements and vitamins, and I really liked that. And also for me, it was kind of the chain that led to picking was really helpful to see, like, oh, when I do this, maybe 20 minutes later I'll end up picking. And having fidget toys in those places, like my car and at work and, you know, where I watch TV at night, and keeping those there really was like such a visual reminder to have something else to do instead of pick. So that was what was great about coaching. And a lot of it was kind of dealing with my own shame around picking. I think that was, I didn't even care at that point that I was even picking. I think I was just so upset about how I felt about it. I felt like, you know, I don't know, I just felt like it was a huge burden that I was carrying. I never really told my family. I had one or two friends that knew. And so that was kind of the biggest shift in perspective for me was talking to someone else, and I think I've told this to Annette before, like just talking to someone that had picked and had been through it was completely life-changing for me. All of a sudden, I mean, I've seen people talk about it online, but really having that connection just made a huge difference. And so after we ended, I mean, I don't have this, like, no pick thing. Like, I think I pick as much as normal people pick if their skin or normal, whatever. You know, if there's a pimple, there's a pimple, a stray hair or something. But it's really, really rare that I feel not in control or that I kind of go into that trance where an hour goes by and you don't know what happened. I won't say that it never happens, but it's so limited. And I don't go to that place again afterwards. I don't get sad. I don't beat myself up. If I do even pick a little bit, like it's never a thing when I get dressed in the morning that, oh, what do I have to wear? Do I have to cover anything up? Like I never feel that anymore, no matter if I pick or don't pick. And that was kind of always the goal for me. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Thank you, Jodi. Jodi, was there anything else you wanted to mention that you were dealing with also that the program is helpful? Mm-hmm.
So I had been a binge eater all throughout the process. It's been something that's consumed me for a lot of my life, and I'm also not perfect with it. And I want to say that when I don't eat sugar, it's so much better. Everything is better, and I struggle with sugar the most out of everything. And my binge eating through that process had really reduced, and as well as my shame about binge eating had really reduced. Like, just that was like, just like sharing those secrets with someone and being like, there are things you could do to kind of pull yourself out of that. Because when you go to therapists, sometimes they focus so much on, like, if you heal your past relationships, just all your problems will go away. And I never had that. So talking with a coach who was like, in the moment, this is what you do, was just a completely different way to approach things, and it really worked for me.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, so, you know, again, it's interesting, like, Jodi didn't vibe with the lab like Carly and Katie did. You know, Jodi thought the amino acids and supplements and things were more helpful for her. So it's interesting to know that people are different, or it's important to understand that people are different. And so, you know, if you try something and it doesn't work, don't think like, oh man, what's wrong with me? This is supposed to work. Something else will. Okay? We find what works for you. Okay, so last but not least, we have Sharon, who's, I think, our only representative of the over 20s crowd. Sharon, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm Sharon. I am 47 years old, so I'm quite a bit older than the other guests. I'm from Virginia. I'm actually happen to be calling you tonight from Maryland, where I just recently have moved. About my picking, I had been doing it pretty much, well, I think my whole life. I remember as a kid seeing my mom pick at her upper arms a little bit, or if my brother had a scab from a bug bite or a fall, that he would pick at the scabs. And I probably did it as much as they did back then, but there wasn't any scar or, sore left for a long time afterwards, so it didn't really matter as much to me until in the last 10 years of my life when I've had some issues with high blood sugar, so my skin doesn't heal well. Then when I pick at a spot, it makes a really pretty bad looking sore, and it doesn't heal for many months or sometimes more than a year. So they accumulate, and if you pick a lot, as I was doing, my skin ends up looking pretty bad, and I was becoming very ashamed of it. I felt embarrassed, and, at my age, why am I still doing something this self-destructive and that I should be able to stop? And the same things that other people have said, people told them, why don't you just stop? So I tried different things. I had seen a psychiatrist and therapist for a dissociative disorder that I've had my whole life, and I've talked to them about the skin picking issue. They were not able to help. They tried medications, hypnosis, different stress relieving techniques or things like that, and none of them really were anywhere near as comprehensive as Annette's program, and they ended up just not helping me at all, and I felt like they really didn't have any insight or didn't really think that I could stop it anyway. And I bought into that and just didn't think there was anything I could do. So within the last several years, when my skin had so many spots on it, I think I actually counted one time, and I thought, I have another disorder now, I'm counting spots. But I think I counted between 200 and 300 spots on my arms and upper back and face. And I just was literally hiding in my home. I wasn't going out. I would get people to go to the store and get things for me. I wasn't socializing at all. I basically was just going to doctor's appointments, and that was about it. And so I was looking on YouTube and saw a lady who teaches EFT tapping, and I had heard about the trichotillomania for people who pull their hair. I didn't have that, but I thought, well, maybe the same thing could apply. And then I actually searched YouTube and found a video of somebody showing how to do tapping for skin picking. And I can't remember the name of this lady, but she mentioned Annette Pasternak's work, and I then got onto her website and emailed her that I would like to get some coaching and work with her program. So that's what I did, and I've had just astounding, to me, success with this program, and it has changed my life so much. I still am just kind of can hardly even believe it of how different it was before, and when I think of how long I lived the other way without any success in stopping, and how it just grew and grew into such a huge issue for me, just something that seems as simple as picking your skin, it turned into such a big deal for my life that it would pretty much just, I had ostracized myself. But when I got started with the coaching program, I started the logs, and the logs helped me a lot. With my dissociative disorder, I was not really aware or connected to my body very much at all. And so I did a whole lot of unconscious picking, even picking in my sleep. And I was able to start getting a handle on that for the first time ever. And when part of the program was to count how much time you spend picking, I was like, wow, how am I going to ever figure that out? But I was able to do it with Annette's help and guidance and support. And I would say also that having I did every 2 weeks. I would have a coaching session, and having that to look forward to and have accountability and a reason to keep these totals to share really helped me get grounded and much more connected to myself and what I was doing with my skin and picking. And I also, like Jodi, started applying the same things I was using throughout the program with my overeating problems. And it did help a lot. And I think I used almost every, I guess, nearly every technique in Annette's book at one point or another throughout the thing and with the coaching sessions. And the things that I think made the biggest difference for me were initially the logging to let me know which times I needed to be on guard that this behavior was happening and what I could do to substitute. So at first it was not about stopping, but about substituting something else, and that made a big difference for me. I started having the fidget toys in all the places that I knew were going to be problems for me, and the times of day, and also adding more protein into my diet and eating a little cleaner helped a lot too. But the EFT tapping technique is something I was skeptical about, and I hadn't really pictured myself being able to do that. But the first time I tried it with Annette, it was just amazing, the results. I felt so much calmer and better and grounded, which for me is something I'm always trying to seek to be better at. But it was very calming, and we also did some exercises using EFT about releasing the shame and the guilt about the picking habit, and particularly for one that had gone on so long for me. That was really a wonderful thing to have happen. I was able to finish early. The amount of time I was picking decreased by about half every time I had a session. I realized I had done half as much picking as the last 2-week period until at the end that was, just 3 or 4 minutes over 2 weeks was the total time I had spent. So I kind of graduated early, and since I finished the coaching program, I feel I'm much more confident and worthwhile about myself, and I have the courage to go out in public now, and I don't worry about people's reaction, because for one thing, I don't feel shame and guilt because I'm not spending hours or even minutes every day picking my skin. I'm just hardly ever doing it, and if I do, it's conscious choice. I'm aware I'm doing it. I'm not doing it absent-mindedly. I feel like I have more control. And also by applying the same, some of the same grounding and refocusing, and doing an alternative action and using the EFT tapping with food as well, I've also lost about 10 pounds, and the weight is still going down. And my depression has improved a whole lot, just incredible. The doctor changed my medication, and lots of things have come about as a result of this program for me. They've just really been fantastic. And I certainly never have even imagined all of the good things that would come about, other than I was just amazed that I could actually stop picking my skin, number one, and then for so many other great things to be connected to it. It's really been great, and I feel very appreciative to Annette and for her program and her great book and her support.
Oh, thank you, Sharon. You were a superstar. I mean, like she said, I think she's the only client I may have ever had that every single time we met, the picking was less than half than the previous time. Like, there were just no setbacks the whole time. I'm really happy to hear that you're still doing great. And you're, I think this was news since we met, that your doctor changed or lowered your depression medication. Mm-hmm. And so wonderful. Yeah, this is very common. I mean, if you look at the testimonials on our website, people are less depressed, people are less anxious. Well, I know that I had somebody that emailed me a question, but this is a man who said that I would like to ask the ladies if any of them had a significant other who was either helpful or unhelpful during their experience. I would really like to hear their perspective on how a significant other can best be the kind of support that they need. So I know a couple of you at least had significant others during this time. I think probably just 2 of you. Anybody want to comment on that? You don't have to, but feel free if you have something to say.
Yeah. So I have a boyfriend. I've been with him. I've been living with him for almost 4 years now, and he's like for the first 3 years I was picking very excessively, and it was really difficult, and he didn't understand it for a long time. But then it was actually him who found Annette in your program. But I think like the best support he gave me was just admitting that he didn't really understand what I was going through, and just finding the right program. He just helped me find the program that I needed, and then he just pretty much asked me about it and just kind of let me, just let me like do the program and do all the weird things like covering the mirrors everywhere so he couldn't look in the mirror and just all that kind of stuff. And he just really just asked me about it and just admitted that he didn't understand why I did it, but he understood the consequences. But I think I was very defensive at him at some point, and he was trying to ask me, like, why don't you just stop? And I got really mad at him, so I just stopped using words like just stop or don't do that or whatever. And he just basically, instead of asking me, like, have you kicked at all today, he would ask me, like, how are you feeling today? And I began to answer him. So I think, yeah.
Wow, thank you, Fanny. That's a great distinction between have you picked today and how are you feeling today. The latter feels so much better to be asked, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Cool, thank you. Anybody else want to jump in on this question?
Well, this is Carly, by the way.
Hey, Carly.
I was dating someone. We were in a relationship for about a year, and this was like during the prime season of me kind of figuring out what I wanted to do as far as finding help. And he was very supportive, and he, like you were saying, he didn't really understand a lot of it, but he was very supportive. And I think what helped the most was just him being there for me. And, if I kind of opened up to him and said, man, last night I had a really bad session, just him being there to comfort me was the best thing. And, again, sometimes he would use the words, like you were saying, just stop or, don't do that. But that's probably the least helpful thing. I think just kind of having the comfort of knowing that he was still, like, attracted to me and in love with me was just the most comforting thing of all. So.
Yeah, I think that really makes sense because you feel very safe when you know that picking or no picking, this person is there for you, and it's not like it depends. Awesome. Okay, thank you. We have 3 questions here. So one is simply asking if I have many men clients. The answer is no, I've had a few, but not many. And that is because, from what the research says, women outnumber men about 10 to 1 on this, as far as having this disorder. Okay, and the same person is also asking, is my book available in a format other than a Kindle format? Amazon only has it in a Kindle format? No, that's not true. Amazon does have it in the paperback format since April. So you can get it on Amazon. Even if you click a link that takes you to the Kindle format, there are options listed there, and you can just click the paperback, and then you get taken to the paperback page. So thank you for asking that. And okay, so somebody else asked, did your picking follow a path of constant escalation or predictable increase until you started treatment? So if picking goes untreated, should one expect that it will only increase? What I can say from my experience and the experience of everybody that I speak to is that it does usually tend to continually increase, but not always. I have had consultations with people who say it's better than it used to be, this and that. So that answers that question. Any other questions you have for our guest? There is another one coming in. But fidget toys have worked for the clients. Where do we get these? Okay. Anyone want to jump in on this?
I find that anything from, like, this is Jodi, by the way, a stress ball to a rubber band to, like, having, like, just, like, a hair tie on my wrist. But I think they're called Tingle Toys, and I bought them on Amazon. I think they were, like, you get, like, 3 of them for $10. I like those. I had another, like, squishy kind of stress ball thing that I keep at work, and I like that a lot. But even, like, paper clips will do if you don't want to spend any money and just can steal them from your office or something.
Thanks, Jodi. Awesome. Anybody else have any favorites they want to share?
This is Katie. Oh,
I see.
yeah, this is, and I took with me, like, this little stress ball, or I don't remember exactly what it was called, but it was from your website. And I took it to class with me, or just had it by me, by my bed, like, while I was reading or watching a movie or something, and I could just use that. That was really helpful for me.
Okay, I don't actually have a store on my website now. That was the old website. Was it the ISOFlex?
Oh, okay.
Do you know if it was the ISOFlex?
Oh, yeah. Yes, that was it.
Okay. Yeah, so there's something called ISOFlex. You can also get that on Amazon for probably $5. So, yeah. Any other questions?
This is Jodi. I actually have a question for the other participants.
Oh, sure.
So how much time do you guys spend, would you say, on, like, maintaining what you kind of learn through the program every day, or for, like, maintenance?
Hi, yeah, this is Fanny. I use the EFT and some of the breathing exercises every day. So I try to use it every day because it works. Yeah, it works really well for me. But I use it on everything. You know, it's just but I start using the log again if I feel like I'm gonna maybe slip. You know, if it becomes stressful or something. You know, I start using the log again. But I do try to do it every day. But you know, doing EFT only takes like 5 minutes. You know, it's do it a little bit.
Thanks. Anyone else?
Yeah, I can. So I've maintained the log. I think the log has been like my lifesaver. I kind of do like a baby log, but if I notice that I'm coming into more of a stressful time and I know I'm going to be really stimulated, I'll start logging more descriptively. So I'll, write down the time, how long I did it, what was I doing before, kind of my thoughts after. That's like one of the ways I maintain. Or, I think I don't know if you really do these, Annette, but having a session, every 6 months or every couple months, I'll be like, hey, Annette, like, I really need to get a session in there because I'm slipping. I need, some encouragement. So that's definitely been really helpful. Or even just kind of a check-in email or, kind of a check-in buddy really helps. Sometimes I'll talk to my best friend about it, and she has been really supportive, and she kind of helps me maintain my progress as well. So.
Cool. Yeah, I think you're the only one I've done that with, Carly. Not to say I wouldn't with anyone else. So, if you're feeling like you're slipping or getting in trouble, drop me a line. But yeah, and, if you want to, I don't know, if any of you want to be buddies after, email me and I'll hook you guys up. Okay. So, I have another question. Can you describe how the coaching sessions work online? How long do they last? How often? So just really briefly, they're 45 minutes. Yeah, they're Skype online or FaceTime sometimes. And the usual way I run the program right now is 10 sessions over 4 months. The first month is 4 sessions, so every week for 4 weeks, and then it goes to twice a month for months 2, 3, and 4. And yeah, I mean, the basic thing about the coaching session, the first thing is definitely checking in on the recommendations that I made since the last session and how, what worked, what didn't work for you. We do some troubleshooting, and then I'll introduce something new, some new technique or something. I use some things like that nobody mentioned because I think some of the clients early on, Carly and Katie, never had these, but I think maybe with Fanny and Sharon, the techniques like timeline therapy and NLP, in addition to the and maybe Jodi too. I don't remember. These are techniques that you kind of do in person, but you don't really do afterwards on your own. They just kind of have their effect there. Or I teach you something that you're going to do on your own, and at the end of every session, I always give you specific recommendations. So 1 or 2 or 3 things to work on for the coming week or 2. Well then, I do want to respect everyone's time, and I want to give a big thank you for all of our participants. So thank you so much. I think it'll sound ridiculous if I start clapping, but I'm giving you, okay, I'm going to start clapping. I don't know what it sounds like, but yeah, you guys are all amazing and very brave. And, I have a lot of clients who do really well, and they put this behind them, and they're really happy, understandably, that they're just, they're done with that stage of their lives and they just move on. But I want to really thank you guys because you're giving back to people.
Wasn't that great? Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. You can tap the rectangles to watch some of my other videos. Tap the square with the puzzle piece to visit my website, get your free gift, including a free 30-minute session with me there. And before you go, tap the circle with my picture in it to subscribe to my YouTube channel.